today I decided to document some of my LED install for my Ninja Z1000SX. I don't like the way the current LEDs or the current lights work. They're not LED, they're halogen. And just like my previous Ninja, I've got two lights in the front, and on standard beam the one goes on, and on high beam the other one comes on. So 99% of the time I'm riding my bike, I have one light on and one light off, which looks really unbalanced. I don't know why they've done it that way. And occasionally someone will say, oh, your one bulb is broken, because they just assume it works like a car. So I've never liked that. And also they're not as bright as they could be. Not that they're not bright, they're actually pretty good. And I very seldom ride at night. But, well, to be fair, it wasn't about the brightness. To be honest, it was about the balanced look. So the brightness is a bonus, I suppose, makes it look a bit more modern. So I browsed around online and I found a place called RetrofitLab, and they had what appears to be a really solid offering. It involves quite a bit of work. You have to really dismantle the bike, and then you have to apply heat in the oven or in a heat box to loosen the lens covers and separate them in order to get the internals out and put the LED bulbs in. So it's not just an LED little fixture, it's an entire unit that gets done. The other thing that I have done is I have forgotten to film the footage of the first part of the exercise, and I wanted to remember the work that I've done. So I have caught it halfway. I have done everything. I have taken the LED. I have taken the light housing off. I'll show you what it looks like. It looks like that. Okay, and I have put the LED bulbs in. So if you look in there, that's what they look like now. They look pretty damn cool. I've got it all wired up to check that it works. I have resealed everything with in the oven again, clamped it together to make sure it is as it should be. And what I have taken out is basically this thing that sits inside that housing. And behind it there are a bunch of screws that you have to remove and put onto a bracket that they give you. They document it in the instructions. They sent these things as well as part of the standard. I found I didn't need to use them. The old ones work just fine. I may decide to put some insulation around that. I don't see how that is better or worse than this, to be honest. I really don't. And here are the old bulbs. Your standard bulbs. I also replaced the side lamps, so they've got these little lamps over here, and I replaced them with LED as well, which are here. Now, brace yourself. This is the scary moment of what it looks like halfway through. My bike looks like it's been in a wreck. Check that out. So this is the front of the bike. There is no front left. It's just cables lying everywhere. It looks terrible. All the fairings are off. Yeah, so looks pretty scary at the moment, and I have to somehow remember how to put it all back together, which is why I'm videoing this, so that I can have a little bit of an accurate record of what I've done. Also, it means that if you replay my reassembly backwards, you get the sequence of events of how to put it together in the first place. But check this out. So all my fairings are down here. Okay, the windshield, one side fairing over the back of this bike, another fairing over there, and then part of the front housing unit. And I've put them in sort of reverse assembly order, so I work my way backwards. And the same thing applies to all the screws. Check this out. This is the order of the screws that came out. And I kind of lay them out in the order, but also the location on the bike. So for example, these came off first. These were the 6 bolts that held on the windshield. Then these were the 6 bolts that held on the dashboard unit. And then these are the bolts on the one side that held on the fairing. These were the clips underneath the bike that held on the fairing. This was the other side fairing, only 2 bolts. Then these were all of these clip things that hold parts of the fairing together. These were the two bolts that held the actual light housing unit to the bike. These are the screws that held the fairing, the black fairing piece, to the light housing. And that was the last thing that I had to take off. Then the rest of it, I mean, these are just the bolts to get the seat off so that I could get access to the battery. So I've temporarily wired it up over here, this one and this one, just to make sure that it actually works. And I will demonstrate that it actually works to you. I'm not going to connect up the brights, because the cable for the brights is somewhere down there and the unit is here on the floor. But I have tested it, I know it works, and after baking it still works. So I will just start the bike and show you. Start the ignition, and immediately we have these bulbs, which are just the standalone LEDs, and they fit into the side, the two sides over here. Then when we start the bike, you'll see there's a little pause, which is a unit that delays the start of the bulb while the engine is starting to prevent surges. And then the LEDs will come on. So there we go. Pretty cool, huh? Right there. It's just a case of retracing my steps and getting that. That gets connected to, well, first of all, these bulbs are connected to this jobby, which then gets connected to this jobby, which is the original bulb holder. The other original bulb holder on this side goes into those two, which controls the brights and the non-brights. Unfortunately, these and these, as you can see, there's no plastic housing, and the housings that they sent didn't fit. They sent these, the two prongs fitted into this thing, but the gap between them was insufficient. So I don't know what it is. I sent them a message and they sort of said, oh, sorry, we'll throw the correct one or the other one into the kit. They've never had this complaint before except for one Z1000. So while my bike came with this, which was too narrow, I have no idea. I was going to run out and buy a replacement one of these that was wider so that this would connect and be weatherproof. I may try and do that today, but I will probably do that after I've done most of the install. I want to get this bike back together. It's making me anxious seeing all this junk on the ground everywhere. Whenever I walk in, I'm worried someone's going to stand on something or kick something. So basically, it's time to start putting this thing back together. Okay, so retracing my steps, this I believe is the last thing that I did, because I have these two screws here and they join that to that, and this one was on the left hand side, obviously used to tuck some cables away. That one and that one. That's the one right there, and that's the one right there. I think now is the time to make sure all the electrics work before I start putting things back. Okay, I need to make sure that all the wiring, all of this crap that hangs out here, okay, has a home and it is weaved correctly through to the battery. Now these are grounding points. You can see I really just wired them straight to the battery ground, but it feels to me like these could have a home somewhere here behind the dash. I need to find the ground points. I might need to do a little bit of research just to find out where we're supposed to ground those cables. I don't want to run 2 cables all the way back to the battery if I can help it. Okay, I'm just connecting up all the wires, so I'm going to put basically it's the daylight, daylight running, daytime running lights into there. Seems very straightforward. There's this longer piece at the bottom, which clearly goes at the bottom of this. So goes in like that, and okay. So I've got a temporary connection. So I'll put those 2 into there, which I believe is the switch for the brights and non-brights. I have connected up everything that I can. Obviously the wires are all in the wrong place. I will direct them correctly later, and I've got this one in this side. So this should work. Let's give it a go. And it should work with the brights as well. Fingers crossed. Okay, so this is the test, the big test. Make sure everything works. I'm just going to start the bike. Well, just put the ignition on and we should see the daylight running lights. There we go. That's cool. I mean, they're just better than they were. They're brighter and they're whiter, I suppose. But the real test is, let's turn the sucker on. And do we get... yes. That looks good. Looks like I'll need to align them. There we go. Alright, now let's try high beam. See if it makes a difference. So that's low beam, high beam. Now the other thing is what to do with this big box that hangs in here. So I think I found a spot for it. I think the best place for it is here. I don't think there's anything that goes here. Here's the box. I've threaded it through. Okay. There's another box already here, and it's already got a little attach point. So I was thinking I might just cable tie it like that. Okay. It's out of the way. It's attached to something hard, won't juggle around. I think that makes sense. I'll give that a go. Okay, that turned out to be a little bit harder than I thought. So instead of putting it there, I've put it there and attached it to that metal bracket there. That seems a lot safer and a lot more secure. So one other thing that I have always realized is try and trace existing electrical cables. Don't forge your own unique way through the bike, because you just never know if you're going to get near something hot or something that's going to abrase or just cause problems. So I'm going to try and trace the existing electrical cable, which means, okay, all of this stuff that comes out of here and here, I'm going to cable tie, and it's going to join up with an existing cable that runs that way. What is this? Different cable. Okay, it's going to run along there. See this cable here? This one? Okay, it's a fairly substantial cable. Everything is going to be tied to this. It's going to come around here. All of this stuff here now. All right, I'm going to cable tie to the primary cable that runs. I'll have to take this off and get it to thread through to the battery. But all of this will be neatly tied up right here where there is already a big cable situation on the go. I think that is the safest thing to do. The other question I'm now having is, do I really need the H7 connectors? You see, I've got this jobby here, and it's literally just a power and a ground. All right, do I need this whole big thing, or should I just get the opposite of this, the spade, and cut this and just put 2 connectors, let them plug in together? Then I can lose this whole big thing. I'm tempted to say yes. I don't think I need this thing unless I ever have to take the bike back to normal, which I won't. Okay, so happy days. I've just peeled back the boot cover, or this rubber thing, and had a look inside, and this thing literally has exactly the connectors I need. So I can just take them out of the plastic housing and run them directly into these, and then just tie wrap, and then just shrink wrap them, and I can get rid of this whole big bulky thing. So that was easy. Perfect. Boom. So look at that. The only thing is obviously it's an L-shaped connector now, but that's fine. I can shrink that up really nicely and save a lot of space. I've just got to do the other one now, and I've still got the original boot with the connector in there, which I can take it back to exactly how it was without having anything broken. Perfect. Okay, all done, neat and tidy. So at this point, before I do the other one, I always kind of stop and check that things still work, because you could do something, and I've done this plenty of times, and something doesn't fit quite right. You go all the way to the end and nothing turns on. So always check along the way that things still work as you expected. So let's give that a go. Yep, I should have checked. Immediately nothing worked. So what I had done is I'd got the two sides the wrong way around. So the brights thought that they were the standard, and the standard thought that they were the brights or the high beam. And so only one comes on with the other. So switch them around. Everything still works. Let's just show you. Whew. All I had to do was cut the heat shrink, and I'll just redo the heat shrink. So here goes. There we go. Okay, the massive wires. So I've swapped them around. So now that's the one, and that's the other. Just need to shrink wrap them, tie them all together, and we are looking good. Okay, so this is the wiring, how I've done it. Looks pretty neat. Up there it's less neat, but it is cable tied to the existing ones. So and it's tied up on this side, so I think it's neat enough. I'm not too concerned about waterproofing or safety. Now the only thing left to do is to feed this line, which goes straight to the battery, taking off this panel and feeding it through underneath the tank. Very easy. And then reassembly. But for now, right now, I'm just going to put the mirrors back on, because there's no reason for them not to go back on. Okay, I'm at the point where I need to extend the cable to get to the battery. It doesn't quite get there. I've taken the fuel thing off to try and run it underneath, but the fuse sits there in a very bad place. So I'm going to extend this cable so the fuse sits here and then connect it there. Okay, I think we're good. I've brought the cable up here. It goes underneath the tank, goes down there, sleeve through there, like so, and then it runs through to the battery area. So I'm just going to put those two bolts back, and we should be good. Okay, one side on. Now to the other side. These little suckers have got to go in there. I don't know if you can see them. Okay. So, get the bottom in first. Okay. Push that down and click it in. And then the front one. Push it in, make sure it's flush, and click it in. Not going anywhere.
we're on the final step. I can't believe we're actually nearly finished. It's crazy. Ta-da! Of course, I have to try it on, right? So. All that's left to do now is to align those lights. I need to find out how to do it, what the specs are. Do you take it against a wall? Do you measure from the bottom? How do you know it's pointing down and out correctly? I have no idea. And I haven't found anything interesting or easy on the internet for New Zealand, so I'll have to maybe phone and ask.